Biggest challenge, honestly, I think for us is the evolution of technology and how that impacts our people. It's cool for some people because they
Yep.
embrace it and they look forward to it. But for others, they go, oh my gosh, at this rate, I might be out of a job in a few years. And when we've tried very hard to not really have that be the case, what we want to do is we want to take the technology and hopefully help have that enhance the experience of our employees so it's easier for them to do their job.
Good afternoon. This is Doug Newell, and this is Property Pulse. This is a podcast put on by Swarmalytics, my company. I'm the CEO, and we're exploring different aspects of the real estate market. We are fortunate today to have Vernon Kline as a guest to talk to us about his part of the market. Before I go any further, Vernon, could you introduce yourself and give us a little bit about
Sure,
your
sure.
background?
Well, first of all, Doug, thank you for having me. I think we're going to have a good time today, and I'm interested to have this conversation with you. So I am the president of Cedar Management Group. We are located in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've been in business for about 20 years, and our part of this market includes the management of homeowner associations, commercial associations, condo associations, which is a lot of times post real estate, right? So you go through your land acquisition,
Yes.
your development, your selling, and then your management. And we take the management part of that market. And we have clients in several states throughout the Southeast. And we are
Yes.
managing a little over 850 clients to date. And that spans anywhere
Wow.
from small to townhome associations to several hundred condos. And so, and in all different markets and all different towns all throughout the Southeast.
Yeah. Do you have a sense as to how many homeowners altogether across? I think I counted like you're in six
Yes.
states or something like that, mostly the Carolinas, but you go over to Tennessee and
Yes.
then and so forth, up
Yeah,
to
Virginia,
Virginia and so forth.
Alabama, yeah, and we are heading into Georgia here in the next few months. Yeah,
Are you?
yep, and
Okay.
we're looking at right now close to about 80,000 homeowners that we manage to date.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot of heads to
Yep,
keep happy.
for sure, for sure. So, a lot of times the folks who are involved in homeowner associations, especially the boards, is who we have most of our contact with. They don't have a lot of
Yes.
experience in the industry. They're school teachers, they're doctors, and they have all different kinds of professions and backgrounds. And a lot of times, homeowner
Yes.
associations is not one of them. And so we come in and we kind of help advise and guide the association to make sure it's running smoothly and efficiently and that they're doing everything that they should do, in accordance with their bylaws and state regulations and all that fun stuff. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Let's start at the top of the funnel. Do you know how many such organizations are in the states that you serve? I mean, how big is the pool that you're drawing from when you have
It's interesting.
this many customers?
North Carolina is one of the largest states as far as total number of homeowner associations. Of course, you have,
Really?
the Texas, the Arizona, the Californias, but on the East Coast, North Carolina is a booming state as far as homeowner associations are concerned. And it's funny, when we first got into doing HOA management, there were very few management companies in the Charlotte area. And I say very few, relative to today. And it seems to be a business that a lot of folks have become interested in because it's definitely a demand out there. And there's no shortage of properties to go around for everybody. So there's a lot of business out there. And so we're seeing more and more competition pop up in just about every market we're in.
Yeah. That was about to be my next question. Is it a very competitive market?
I mean, it just like most things, the more players you have in the game, the less the per door cost can go down because of the
Yeah.
competition, right? Everyone's like, I can do it for this price. Well, I can do it for that price. Well, I can do it for this price. And I mean, that's competition in just about any industry, but at the same time, there is something to be said about quality too, because the lower you go with your pricing, you do have to give up some compromise as far as quality is concerned. And we all have overhead. We all have things that we have to take in consideration when we're running our business. And I think that's kind of where your ideals come in as far as AI is concerned and maximizing efficiencies, right? And
Yeah.
that's something that we're definitely getting into ourselves.
Speaking of which, I was wondering, is there an opportunity to sort of grow vertically in that to offer more services or something that would differentiate you and maybe allow you to pick up more revenue?
It's interesting. That's a good question because there's something fascinating going on in our industry right now where you have a lot of folks who have spent time managing associations and being in this world. And with the advancements in technology, they are finding ways to solve problems. For example, someone could say,
Yes.
I've been in the management world for, 15 years, and I see a problem that we just haven't been able to solve in our company or in our industry. And what they'll do is they'll actually kind of go branch out and start their own company, which is designed around fixing that problem. And they'll sell that service to folks like myself, right? And so what that does is it's those folks capitalize on fixing a problem. But if I sign on to partner with them so they can help me provide that service to our clients, that maximizes our efficiencies, which increases my bottom line as well.
Yes.
So it is kind of a fascinating thing that's happening right now. And I think the HOA industry as a whole is a little slow to catch up to technology, but now I feel like doors are opening and eyes are opening, and there's kind of a rush, if you will, to have the latest and
Yeah.
greatest.
I think you'd have a significant advantage if I had a startup company, as you talk about, that charges air conditioners. And I was like, okay, Charlotte, I'm going to take on Charlotte in late June and do a deal with you and sign up hundreds of them. And
Yeah, so
sounds like an opportunity to print
yeah, I
money.
mean, it definitely there are opportunities for vendors out there. I mean, homeowner associations, they are all tight networks within the communities. So if you have somebody who has a good experience with a vendor, they tend to, it's like you got someone who has a good landscaper. Next thing you know, the whole block has that same landscaper, right? We're in a difficult spot as far as that's concerned because of course, we do like to see vendors going out there and getting business, but our primary focus is for the vendors that treat the associations, right? So we don't have anything to do with in a case of a single family association, most of them it's on the homeowners to maintain their own property and they can use however they want. But we will help the
Yeah.
association do the bidding and the contracting for vendors to take care of the common areas, the pool, playgrounds, things like that. But there are opportunities though, I will say that especially those large associations like in Texas, where the association does take care of a lot of the properties, right? It's kind of a turnkey operation.
Yeah.
Those vendors can really maximize their exposure by going into a 2 to 3 thousand home community.
Oh, wow. That
Yep.
would really help. By the way, you know who are the boards of
Yes.
directors, right? So I presume you've got a database somewhere of here are the X thousands of organizations within your footprint. And here, if I want to bid on one or if I want to reach out and see it when it's coming up for bid or whatever, you have all that information, right?
There are ways to get information, but it does depend on how the board chooses to be exposed to the outside world, right? So some boards will sign
Okay.
up through CAI, which is the Community Association Institute, kind of the governing body, so to speak, of the HOA world. And a lot of board members can become members, and then their information's out there. But board members come and go; they turn over quickly. There's annual meetings every year, so by the time you get a board member who's in, they might be up for reelection next year. They may not be on the board next year, so it's hard to keep updated lists of all the boards and all the associations. Also, new ones pop up all the time. There's not a direct database that tells me, hey, they're that community across the street. I can just go here and find out who those 5 board members are, right? Uh, and
Okay.
like I said, if that community has a website where they choose to publish, hey, here's
Yes.
a section on our website where we publish the names and information about our board members. Sometimes they'll do that. But a lot of times for us personally, our growth has been not outreach. It's been just making ourselves available to anyone who's interested in HOA management. They know that here's how you reach us. But we're not cold calling, we're not knocking on doors. We're allowing them to search and reach out to us and inquire about services, and we kind of go from there.
And from what I see, it looks like you have pretty steady
Yeah,
growth.
we've been blessed to be very active in the sales section of this business, and our sales team has been incredible, and just they've been hustling and they've done a great job. And our team, obviously, it's one thing to bring them in; it's another to keep them. Right? That's kind of
Yeah.
that's the key is keeping them under the roof. Once they're here, and that's a difficult thing for any management company, right?
Yeah. So do you have like a team assigned to it, every
Yeah.
account
Yeah,
or
so each
whatever
community
that?
will have a community manager, and then we have different departments, customer service, accounting, and within our company, and all of those folks within all of those departments handle the day-to-day kind of client interactions and all the back office work for the association. And then the manager basically is the one who's the point of contact and the face of Cedar.
Yep. What services do you deal with contracting with the people who are mowing the lawns and cleaning the pool, the community
Yes.
pool, and there are usually drainage basins that have to be dealt
Hmm.
with and collecting the
Yep.
dues?
Yep. So we collect the dues. We house the association operating accounts and any investment accounts that they want to have. And we basically will collect all the dues. We pay all the bills. We'll take any customer service related calls. For some associations, we'll go out and do inspections for them. And that we will handle maintenance inquiries. If somebody has a situation where, let's say it's a condo association and the association is responsible for maintenance and repair of the roof. If someone reports a roof leak, we'll
Yes.
dispatch a vendor of the board's decision
Yeah.
to go out and inspect and make the repair. And we kind of facilitate that whole process for them. So depending on the association and what the contract is for, like I said, there's a difference between a single family association that has different requirements, right? Versus a townhome or a high rise association or even a commercial association.
What do you think your biggest challenge is being president of this company?
The biggest challenge, honestly, I think for us is the evolution of technology and how that impacts our people. We're a people business, right? We're in the
Yeah.
business. We are people in the business of serving people, right? And
Yes.
you insert an aggressive amount of technology at a very fast pace. It does impact the teams, right? It impacts the people because they wonder if their job's on the line. They wonder, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for the future? It's cool for some people because they
Yep.
embrace it and they look forward to it. But for others, they go, oh my gosh, at this rate, I might be out of a job in a few years. And when we've tried very hard to not really have that be the case, what we want to do is we want to take the technology and hopefully help have that enhance the experience of our employees so it's easier for them to do their job,
Exactly.
right? And so, in the example of a customer service agent or an accounting agent who has a current workload, and then you insert technology that helps them be a lot more efficient, they can take more work without feeling stressed. Then that what that does
Right.
is it gives us the opportunity to not have to scale staff as quickly. As opposed to downsizing staff, it just means that we don't have to increase the size as fast.
I presume you have some sort of database or something that keeps track of the kinds of calls. Do you have all that information going back 10 or
Yeah,
20
we do.
years?
So the main types of software that I was speaking about earlier where, folks go out and they say, "Hey, how can we solve this problem?" One of the initial ways and one of the original ways that folks did that was by creating software that houses all the information about the association, right? Where you can sort and easily search all the associations, all the
Mhm.
homeowners, the information about them. And that's basically our hub of information. So yes, we do partner with a software company that provides us with that.
Back to the sales
Mhm.
perspective, is there a database out there of all of the communities? Do they have to incorporate or something where the Secretary of State could be mined
Yeah,
for
I mean,
data?
everyone is goes through the Secretary of State. Everyone has to file their articles of incorporation to be incorporated in the state. Different states have different regulations and statutes
Mhm.
to govern that. But yeah, there is a way to be able to go in and see all the incorporated entities for each state. Now, drilling down to the level of the board members in charge, that's always been kind of tough because it just so fluid. It just
Yeah.
changes constantly.
How long are your contracts?
Most of them are 1 year. I mean, yeah,
Really?
we have some 2 and 3 year, but I mean, we allow, with a 90-day notice most of the time. Most management companies will say,
Okay.
you can give a notice with the 90 days and, we'll transition you out.
Okay.
You asked about what's the biggest challenge earlier. One of the challenges that was brought up, recently at a meeting I was at is the you can do 100 things right, but the second and not a whole lot is said. The second
Yeah.
one thing doesn't go 100% perfect, you lose the client, right? So that it becomes a thing where the length of the if they don't want to be your client, I'm not going to force them to stay another 9 months if we just know it's going to be a bad
No, no.
relationship and it's not good. There are times when we will mutually say, "Yeah, this isn't a good fit."
Yeah. But there's also sort of a perception and reality kind of thing, and you just mentioned it. doing 100 things right and something goes wrong. And isn't that a communications issue? Do you have newsletters or some direct communication with the homeowners such that you give yourself credit for the 100 things that were done right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a difficult position to be a board member because when you sign up to be on the board, let's say you are board member who just got elected. And the thing is, you get elected as a board member, which means all of your neighbors voted for you to represent the community and make decisions on behalf of the community. So when things aren't going 100% right in some homeowners' minds, and you have homeowners coming to you, knocking on your door saying, I'm having a bad experience, I'm having a bad experience, you feel the pressure that you have to look into making a change because you don't want your neighbors to feel like you're failing them because they elected you. And
Yes.
so there are a lot of times
Yes.
when board members, despite all the successes that we may have had with them as their management company, they still may feel the pressure to make a change because of what they're hearing from their neighbors. And that does tend to happen. There is a lot of turnover in this industry. We win a lot of accounts and we lose accounts. And that's the same for every management company, just about everywhere.
How long's your sales cycle?
A lot of governing documents will give you the term. They'll say, the term for any such management agreement, herein provided, blah, 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 will be a January 1 start date and for a period of 2 years, right? But if the governing documents are silent on the terms of contracts for management companies, then we try to do a lot of calendar year, January 1 starts just to make it easy. But a lot of associations, let's say if we have an association that we've had for 3 years and they decide they want to make a change and go somewhere else in June, then their new contract with their new association management company is probably going to start in like
Starts.
August. So now they have an August contract, right?
Mhm.
So it really is a
Right.
year round, but the busiest time for sales for us is fourth quarter. That's when it really ramps up. Um, because a lot of people do want to have kind of
Okay.
a January 1 start date.
Do you have it itemized and then you roll it up, or are you estimating what other people are going to bid and trying to come in just under that, or what?
A lot of the things that we look at involve how many meetings they want to have a year, how many community inspections they want to have a year, the frequency of their billing, the amenities that they have. The more complex the association, the higher the per door rate, so to speak, right? That's why you'll see townhomes and condo associations, they'll be at a higher per door rate because it takes more manpower to manage that association because there's just more components and more complexities involved with that. Single family homes are a little easier, especially if you just have a cluster of homes that a front
Uh-huh.
entrance with a sign, but no pool. It's just a couple cul-de-sacs. That's going to be, that
Yeah.
per door can be a little lower because it's a little cheaper for us to manage that one.
So is this a formula basically you have that one community pool? Okay, we're going to add so many dollars per month for the summer and close it up in the winter and so forth.
Yeah, and when you do it for a while, you kind of just know, right? It's almost like a landscaper can kind of just drive by someone's front yard and go, "Yeah, that'll be about $200 a month," because they price these things so many times that the formula is just kind of in your head, and you can just do a quick look and a quick little, analyzing the scenario. And then there are some where we'll have someone just email in with like a Google form saying, "I got 100 homes. We bill once a year. I want 4 meetings and 4 inspections," and that could be enough for our sales team to go, "Yep, okay, based on the information you provided, this is kind of our quote. If you want to talk any further about any other services, we can have a conversation and go through it." But there are some that are pretty easy where we can just spit out a quote, and get it executed pretty quickly.
Is it growing is the proportion or absolute number of units under HOA increasing in the
Yes, we are
Southeast?
seeing that. It's just there's a boom in the multifamily. You're seeing a lot of people moving back into cities. We saw 10, 15 years ago, people were moving out of the center cities and moving into the suburbs. That's still happening. But, take Charlotte, for example, Nashville, Raleigh, you're seeing people moving back in. So the multifamily condo associations are back in. You're seeing a generation of kids that are, you know, graduating from college, getting married, and deciding that they don't want to deal with an acre of land to mow and keep up with. And they like the idea of having a downtown condo where they can walk to
Yeah.
restaurants and have more of a walkable lifestyle. So we're seeing that a lot, especially in Charlotte. I mean, the skyline's changing every month down here, it seems like. And so I feel like there was a big push to get out of the city. And now I'm seeing a lot of people kind of migrating back in.
Are there barriers to you growing in that from your website? I can actually, at least I envision, almost rings on a tree. You started in the Carolinas and you are deep into North Carolina and the Triangle area and things like that. And now you've expanded out, and I see Virginia and Tennessee and so forth. Is it a manpower thing, or just that you're growing at the rate you want? Or what are the barriers? I mean, Mississippi is next to
Yep.
Alabama. Why
Right.
not there?
Why not, right? There is no reason why
Yeah.
not. That was the reason for Alabama. Why not? There are some markets that are just less desirable to other management companies. If I'm a management company that focuses on large multifamily associations and high rises and retirement communities, and I look at a place like, Birmingham, Alabama, they may not check all those boxes, right? But there's still a lot of associations in Birmingham, right? So it just depends on as a management company, what are you looking to achieve? What kind of market checks the boxes for the type of association that you do well with? And another thing it's been a powerful, I guess, indicator for us as far as where to go is the generation of just SEO and what kind of results are coming in for people in different markets that are searching for management companies in that area. And so SEO tells us a lot about, potential markets and kind of what the benefit would be to penetrating it.
We've talked about sort of new services. Have you added any recently?
Well, one thing that I would say in the last 2 years, we have been fortunate enough to be able to have the resources and abilities to get a training department off the ground because
Ah,
it, this is
back to
back
the
to the
people
people
thing.
thing.
It's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
people.
And honestly, for our clients, we have someone who can actually get on the phone with our boards and walk them through. Like, they're upset because they're unable to find their budget in the portal. And that's usually an opportunity for them to call and say, I'm upset because this darn thing is too hard and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Well, now we have a dedicated staff member who will say, you know what, I'm going to take the 5 minutes. I want you to get on your computer. I will take you through step by step. And I'm not getting off this call until you have your budget in your hand, right? That kind of thing. And
That's great.
it's going that extra mile to take the time to slow it down and make sure that people can feel heard and feel like they're being taken care of. And I mean, it's not that we don't want people to call us and email us, but the easier that we can make it for them to find the answers on their own, then the better for everybody because we're a necessary evil. Like
Mhm.
everybody's got their life that they're living. Nobody really wants to deal with us every day. So the better job we can do, the more they can go about living their life and not have to worry about us so much, right? So
Right. I've seen a lot of use of AI in this kind of thing where it could be somebody managing an
yeah,
apartment building or whatever. What you want to do is scrape off the easy stuff, like, how to announce that you've got a plumbing leak or something. I
yeah,
don't know what, or a roofing leak or something. That shouldn't require lots of interaction or anything, but rather we're all pretty computer literate and simply boom, 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 boom,
oh my
bang.
gosh, look,
And,
for
you
paying
know,
dues, I mean, I know I would love to get a text saying your dues are ready to be paid. Click here to pay your dues. Click, boom, Apple Pay, done. I don't have to worry. As opposed to
yeah,
us having to
yeah.
mail out a coupon, it goes through, it goes in the mail. They have to get it. They have to fill it
Yep.
out.
So that's going to cost you a buck
Yep.
right
I
there.
mean, right
Yes.
now we do have, better ways. I mean, obviously that someone can go online and they can pay online and do all that. But it's gotten to the point where even having to take your time to log into an account, find your dues, pay as opposed to like click done, right? So that's where I think it's heading is
Yep.
the ease of which that we can
Yes.
push things to the homeowners so that way they can just click and be done and they can go about the rest of their day. That makes us look better because it's more efficient for us to do business and we're not bothering them as
Right.
much. Things are just going.
So it's finding that magic spot where on this side of the spot is it's easy, automate it, and on this side of the curve is people. It's like, no, I expect to talk to a
Yes.
person because I want to tell them just how mad I am about something, and I'll feel better having talked to a person and, push three
Yeah.
for this isn't going to
Right. No,
cut it,
that's right.
right?
And for bar boards, and homeowners, but specifically for our boards, we find that a lot of the folks who are on boards have, I mean, it really is, it's a I don't know, I'm not gonna say it's ideal, but it is a very attractive position for someone to go into, especially if they're recently retired. They're looking for something to stay involved with, something to occupy, especially if they had a high position at a company of authority and they live in a homeowner association, they're newly retired or they took a different career and they're still looking for that sense of being a part of something. They'll join a board, right?
Hmm. Okay.
For for those reasons, if I try to automate too much, then I'm kinda taking that purpose, like, they feel like I'm taking that purpose away from that sense, right?
Uh,
I'm saying, "Hey, there's no need for us to meet every month. I can just send you the information and you can absorb it and do whatever you want with it." And they're going, "Well, no, I wanna meet every month," right? So there is a
yeah.
kind of an interesting dynamic of trying to be a chameleon. You would, because you also have the people who say, "Look, if I never see you, that'd be great. Just text me if you need me." So you have
Hmm.
opposite sides of that spectrum.
One final question. You've mentioned your portfolio sort of
Yeah.
methodology. It strikes me that one of the challenges with the portfolio thing would be entering a new market, in that you need
Mhm.
critical mass. If you had one customer, Santa Fe, New Mexico, I suspect you're guaranteed to lose money just because the distance, and it's out there, a whole new set of rules. How do you do it if you recently, I think, expanded into Virginia and
That's right.
Tennessee and so forth? Did you have to line up 4 or 5 clients, or did you have to sort of bite the bullet and hope that you got enough to constitute a
Yeah, so that's
portfolio?
a great question. It's a it's an evaluation that we make all the time when we're entering a new market, and it really just depends on how the contracts are structured. Pre-COVID, it was really hard because a lot of associations, one of the first questions they have is, "Well, where's my manager going to be located?" Right? I want my manager to be here because if we need them monthly for meetings, we want them to be able to be present in our clubhouse. We can meet with them monthly. When COVID hit, we found that a lot of boards said, "Look, we can just meet on Zoom. We're good. Like, we don't need to be in person anymore," which gave us the window to be able to go to that board in Santa Fe, New Mexico and say, "Look, we're growing in your area. We love your business, but for the first couple months, if you don't mind, we'd love to do a Zoom meeting. And as soon as we have somebody up and running in your area, we'll introduce you to them and get you going with somebody who's familiar with your area and can meet you in person." And that's done great because a lot of times in this day and age, people would prefer to just have a quarterly meeting over Zoom because everyone's home, nobody has to fight traffic. It's more efficient, less a wasted time. But to answer your question though, going back to just kind of the bones of growing and scaling, yeah, there are times when we have to bite the bullet, right? Well, we have to go, look, okay, so we have a few leads. We think we're going to have a couple contracts starting in January in, let's say, Virginia Beach. So let's go ahead and put an ad out for a community manager. Let's get them hired. Let's get them trained. And you look, we're not going to be profitable for probably the first year to maybe even 2 years in a new market when we have to do that. But we are fortunate enough to where we can shoulder that. Like we can go 18 months to 24 months with not a high profit margin in a market, knowing that it's growing pains, right? And a lot of times what we'll do, just as a
Okay.
matter of example, we'll have that manager come in and they'll take on maybe say the first 12 accounts or so that we have in that area, but once we get to that like 8 to 10 mark, maybe, and again, I'm just kind of throwing random numbers out there, that's when we'll bring in the second manager. So then we'll have two managers and we'll give the second manager half the accounts for the first manager. So now we have two managers who have six, right? So now we have two managers who can grow.
Got it.
So, and then it just kind of goes from there. But that was
Interesting.
kind of our pre-COVID method. Like right now, in some of our markets, again, if the contracts are coming in and none of them are requiring, that the manager is, right next door, then that gives us the ability to give that contract to a manager who could really be anywhere. The other interesting dynamic that we've seen boards say is, it used to be mandatory. They have to be within 30 to 60, they have to be able to get here. And honestly,
Yes.
sometimes there have been managers and boards that haven't really gotten along, but we put them together for geographic reasons. There might be an account in Northern Virginia that is having a hard time with the manager that they have, but we kind of know because of their personality, like, look, I got a manager in Columbia, South Carolina that would be perfect for you, but they're not right around the corner. Right. And so now we're able to do that. We're able to go, okay, so we can be less geographic about this, just be more
Good.
service minded. Right.
Right. So that opens up opportunities for you and more competition for the HOA
Absolutely. And it also, I
teams.
mean, it's also allowed us to, from a hiring standpoint, hire the best people anywhere. Not, it doesn't have to just be in Charlotte. We used to be, we'd have an ad open and, it would be mandatory in office 5 days a week accounting position. Whereas now you could be 100% virtual and you can be 4 hours away in the middle of nowhere. As long as you're really good at what you do, then that has opened
Absolutely.
up so many hiring doors for us because now we can choose the best people based off just the best people, not just their location.
Well, I'd like to thank you. Thank you for your time. I've
Thank you so much. I
appreciated it.
appreciate you having me on.